Hey everybody. Just wanted to give a quick West Marches update. I've had, I believe, two sessions, maybe three, but two sessions of major note since last we did a write-up for the West Marches. The one that happened at the a little earlier in the week, so the first session that we haven't talked about is that they entered von Karstein's castle. I know I mentioned, if you've been watching, the Green Dragon had an NPC that they had captive. That was kind of their entrance into getting into it, and so they had a session where they traveled to Karstein's castle, and then had a session where they went into it. Um, it's the biggest dungeon undertaking I've ever done, I've ever written. It's 34 rooms, and it has a lot of inspiration from different areas in the gaming world, video games specifically. But I took a significant amount of inspiration from the Resident Evil franchise for the layout of the castle, the puzzles, and everything that works in there. But there's still a heaping helping of vampire goodness in there. And I've also sprinkled in a lot of backstory elements from multiple characters that are in the campaign. Um, so maybe they'll see it, maybe they won't. I did make it to where this dungeon is like significantly difficult and a gauntlet. So I don't have any expectations of them being able to finish it or getting everything, but there's plenty of tidbits of information littered throughout and cool magic items that the odds of them finding something of use for the time that they're in there is pretty good. Like they should find something of use, and then maybe they'll be able to because. The way I've set it up is to where if they leave, they basically don't get to come back, but maybe in the future they'll find another way to be able to come in and do it again. But for right now, it's a one time deal. See how far you can get. Um, just kind of playing with the idea of giving incentive for not leaving to rest. Um, it's a big problem that I have with role playing games in general, and we won't go too deep into it right now. But just playing with different ways to fix that downfall the way I see it. So that was two sessions right there. That getting to Karstein and then having that session. Each one of those sessions was about three. I think one was 3.5 hours. The other one was 3 hours. But the latest session, they went to take on a old PC that went traitor named Rock. So he was played by a he was played the character was played by a player and made decisions in the last before the last global event that we had and then during the last global event that ultimately made him not only more powerful but then went full traitor and became an NPC. He got a whole new character, but that villain is still about, and they took him on. If you haven't checked it out, over on Don Forgecast channel, he's also on YouTube. Probably know him if you know me, but we'll probably go into it in bigger depth there because we're gonna have a conversation. So it should be "What are you thinking?" episode 4. If you're watching this in the future. But we'll go probably into it a little bit more in depth there, kind of the reverse of what we've done in the past of me going into depth here, because I think it's very important to the conversation that we're going to have going in depth in it there. But three characters, quote unquote, died. One of which that died was spared, but not for good things to happen to them. Um, so we'll work through that. I basically am role playing some stuff outside of session with her on how that's going to go. Basically, going to be giving her knowledge about what's happening in the West Marches, and most likely not now, but eventually she's going to learn about and kind of be the conduit of knowledge for Endgame. The party, the highest level right now is 14, level cap is 15. So we're closing in on tier 4, and then kind of once we get into that realm, that's when the ball will be unstoppable for Endgame and how it's going to go. So She'll kind of be, as long as she's alive, will be the information conduit, but based on decisions that she makes, which we'll probably do episodes on that, specifically Casimir and the decisions that she made and kind of the reflection of other characters' decisions that they made leading up to now and what decisions will be given to her. It'll be a kind of an interesting little experiment for you guys to see before and after effects and the choices that are given. I've done this twice. I think the first time I did it with Rock and his player, it was successful. The second time I did it with Shugo and his player, I do not think was as successful. I didn't give it the care that it required. I still think it created dramatic scenes, so it was ultimately a success, but I could have done it better. Shugo is one of the characters that died, and it looks like the player is pretty insistent on not trying to rekindle that at all, which that's totally fine, makes sense. His character's been through some terrible stuff. But also DFC, his character, Nysander the Rogue, died in that fight as well. Jafar and Lucian, Barbarian and Paladin, were able to get out by the skin of their teeth, each one of them literally at 1 HP, getting out of there with a couple checks. But that's where we're at. Basically just went with losing 3 out of 5 members of a party in some fashion, 2 of which are just permanently dead. Looks like their bodies are going to be unrecoverable as well, which makes it super permanent dead. But yeah, like I said, if you haven't checked it out over at DFC's channel, you probably came here from there. But just in case, especially for future viewers, the what were you thinking playlist, that will help you get into the mindset a little bit more back and forth rather than just me espousing up here in front of you. But yeah, leave questions. These campaign diary-esque things, these campaign write-ups, I want to know what you want out of them. I could sit here for an hour and just kind of tell you the narrative, but something tells me that's less interesting than the decisions going into it. That's kind of the theme of the channel, is the thought process, not really the what is happening. Sometimes you need the context of what's happening in the scenes, but really to me, it feels like from where I'm sitting in the content that I'm starting to generate is, I'm still getting a feel for what my voice is. That the idea is what was I thinking going into it, what would I change, and how it can reflect on your play style, and how it can make you a better DM, learning from my successes and my multitude of mistakes. Because ultimately that's what we're doing, right? We're here to make better gaming. Well, let me know what you think, and I'll see you after the next session. Bye.